Like, you know what? Fine, I'll do it. But I was so nervous, but it worked out.
NBA, the Bucks in Phoenix tonight to take on the Suns. College hoops, Greg Gard and the Badgers back home after their season over, losing to BYU 91-89. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy tonight, a low in the mid-20s. A mostly sunny day for tomorrow, highs in the low 40s. Continued warming on Wednesday with a mix of sun and clouds. Highs to the upper 40s. And 50s likely ahead for the rest of the week. Right now it's 33.
The Todd Alba Show.
Let's go to Ollie in the North Woods. Ollie, hiccups or gas, what's worse?
Well, I'd like to frame my answer in the form of sports. It depends upon whether you're a passer or a receiver.
That's great. Whether you're the passer or the receiver, that's the best line of the day.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. The Dom Salvia Show.
Musk is so arrogant that he is even intervening right here in the state of Wisconsin.
Republican Rep. Brian Stile said in a statement that Sanders was on a fear-mongering tour. Maybe you should be afraid when billionaires can buy the presidency, when billionaires can buy elections. I think that's a little scary, and I think so. We, the people, should do something about it.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app. Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, Jane Matnair returns. We've got Dom Salvia as our 10:30 guest, and this shouldn't be a thing. Join us.
Matnair on air. Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who always looks ahead, even when parallel parking, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nite Lite. Thanks for joining us tonight on this Monday after a horrible storm. Wasn't it a horrible storm?
You know, so yesterday I went to go get something for my brothers that was there in a storage because I didn't have room for it. And we had like rain, an insane amount of wind, and then hail for a little bit. And then when we actually got to my house, it was snowing. So I was like, I picked the worst day to do this possible.
Yeah, that may be. I mean, we didn't get what they thought we were going to get, though. At least in Marinette, we were supposed to get like 7 inches of snow on Sunday. So we ended up taking my daughter back a day early from her spring break, and Point got it bad. So I'm really hoping that's the last.
Yes,
we'll have to deal with it.
I'm hoping.
And it was good. You know, it was kind of a false alarm, but that's better than having it come out of nowhere and not expecting it, like has been the case a couple times this winter, at least on my drive home. But this is Nite Lite, folks. You found us. It's great to have you with us tonight on this Monday, March 24th. The first weekend of the NCAA tournament is in the books. The box office underperformed. I hope you had a good weekend. The Wisconsin Badgers did not. Various movies did not. But it was a lovely weekend. You know, overall, I would say those two factors aside, I did drive to Stevens Point. I took my daughter back to college, and I know this is something that I don't know if it drives you as crazy as it drives me, but we stopped at a semi-fast food national chain. I'm not going to say the name of it, but it rhymes with Ip Oatly.
Okay.
No. When people, I don't know what happens after they train workers. We went into this establishment, again, remain nameless, but their shirts were filthy. They were like the uniform. It's like, do you wash them when you go home? You got to wash your shirt. That's your uniform. You could literally take these shirts, like the old line from Cheers, Cliff says you could put Norm's tie in boiling water and make soup. That's how these shirts were. They had so much food on them. And here's what drives me crazy, too. They tell workers, and we get this at where I get a sandwich occasionally in Marinette too. The workers have rubber gloves on, but they handle money, and they don't change their gloves. Like, I don't understand. Like, why are you wearing them? And at this place on Saturday where we went, someone nudged their nose with the glove. It's like, come on.
You don't want a little booger in your food? Or?
Ugh. I don't. I'm crazy that way. But I don't understand. It's like it goes in one ear and out the other. You're in the food industry. You have to practice cleanliness. It has to be it has to be clean. It has to be sanitary. I don't get it.
You know, I will say this. I worked at a pizza place for a little over 2 years, and that shirt that I wore, sometimes just in a day it would get filthy like that, just in one day.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair.
And then I'd go home and wash it. But the one thing I hate about any shirts that you get in the fast food industry, no matter how many times you wash that thing, it still smells bad.
Yeah.
I smelled like a pizza place every time I walked outside with that shirt on. Every time I had it on, it was disgusting.
And it's not, I'm not like a lot of, look, I worked at a McDonald's in high school, and you could eat off the floors. It was that clean.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they're all bad, and you're right. They may have just had a big rush, but I did the thing now, which I do, and when there's room for a tip, I'll say, I'm happy to tip you, but can someone go wipe a table off for us? There were 3 tables open, and they were disgusting. And they said, oh, yeah, right away. I mean, if you bring their attention to it, they'll do it, and they're nice about it, but I shouldn't have to do that.
No.
The floor was gross. I mean, they either had busfuls of traveling young athletes coming through, and they trash the place, or they're just not getting it done.
You know, I worked at a sub place too, and I was so bad at making subs that they put me on duty of just cleaning tables and doing the.
Did you do that on
the
purpose?
soda machines and stuff? I mean, I maybe could have done it, but they put me on dish duty, so
I think you could.
That was worse.
I think you could have made a sandwich if you put your mind to it. But sometimes that's funny when you go in and it says Subway sandwich artist, and there's mustard and there's orange marmalade or whatever. It's like, is that the canvas? What is going on? Hey, folks, be part of our Break Into Spring Text to Win statewide contest. It's another awesome contest we're having here at Civic Media. You have a daily chance to win a Chula Vista Getaway, Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets. Club level, Conrad. Where is that?
Those are great tickets.
That's near the club, right?
I mean,
on that one level?
It's right behind home plate too.
They're great seats.
Yes, they're great seats.
Or $100 cash. Who doesn't need that? Plus, every time you enter and you put into your every time you do an entry, it goes into the grand prize drawing of, get this, a brand new queen mattress set from Verlo. That's where my bed is from, but I have a king, but it's awesome stuff there. It's a new queen mattress set from Verlo that includes a mattress, sheet set, mattress protector, and pillows. What do you think that mattress protector is?
I have a mattress protector.
It's just a mattress pad, right?
Yeah, it's a mattress pad, but
I've never heard it called a mattress protector before.
Yeah, it's just to protect,
If someone tries to come in and stab you in the middle of the night,
or you're eating some food late at night.
Okay,
you drip down your PB&J.
Sure,
the jelly goes all over.
Someone could be a bedwetter. You don't know.
Yeah,
and pillows, ladies and gentlemen. You do have to download the app to play. That's the one catch. It takes about 2 seconds, though. The app is very easy to use. You won't regret it once you have it. So definitely download the Civic Media app and play our Break Into Spring Text to Win statewide contest. Our text to win times will be 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. Listen for the daily word and text it right back in on the app at 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m., and you could win every day a Chula Vista Getaway, Milwaukee Brewers club level seats, or $100 in cash. It is a great contest. Be part of it. These are so much fun. We are not eligible. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not eligible.
See, there's always a catch. But daily prize and grand prize, that's nothing to sneeze at. Can you tell sometimes I show up here to the studio and I've been alone all day and I have not spoken a word. It's like this is the first time I'm using my mouth and I can't even get my words out.
I noticed that a little bit.
Do you? Would it kill you to say, hey, Pete, you're coming into work soon? Let's have a phone conversation. Let's have a little poetry slam or something to get the old lips flapping.
You could do those acting things on your drive down here. You know?
Topeka Bodega. Topeka. Unique, New York. Unique, New York. Folks, I have a great show for you guys tonight. 2 phenomenal guests. I'm very excited about this first guest. He made a film, a documentary called A Road at Nite, and it tells the story of Howard Moore. Howard was a UW men's basketball player in the early to mid-'90s. Chicago kid. Came up. He was on the first Badger team that made the tournament in 47 years. Rashad Griffith was on that team, Michael Finley, Tracy Webster. They just had a phenomenal cast of players. Howard was part of that. He went on to become a UW men's coach. And then several years ago, I want to say 6 years ago, he was involved in a terrible car accident where he lost family members. And John Roach, who will be here at 6:35, phenomenal filmmaker. He co-wrote The Straight Story, which was an Oscar-nominated film with Mary Sweeney, directed by David Lynch. And he created other stuff, too. He's a great producer, great filmmaker. He'll be here at 6:35 to talk about his new documentary, A Road at Nite. It's the story of Howard Moore. And if you are a fan of UW basketball, there's so much stuff in there for you to – stuff I forgot when I was watching it today. All these great stories, and great stories about Howard Moore and what a great person he was and how infectious his attitude was. They called him, several guys – on the team and coaches called him the best teammate they've ever had, which if you're not like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, that's about the best compliment you can get. However, there was a tragic accident, and John made a film about this, and it's going to premiere at the Wisconsin Film Festival in just a couple weeks. So you can still get tickets for it. John will be on to discuss that and many other things I'm going to ask him. I had the opportunity to interview John on PBS Wisconsin a couple weeks ago, and he's a really good interview and a really good guy. He'll be here at 6:35, and then this is exciting too. You ready for this, Conrad?
Oh, I'm ready.
There's a new stage play, live theater, legitimate theater, as Homer Simpson would say. Ed Gein the Musical will be showing from April 4th through the 6th in Oshkosh, and a young actor named Ezekiel Drews, who plays Ed Gein in the show, will be here to talk about the show at 7:35. There's a whole cast of characters that are kind of semi-regulars on Nightlight. Dan Davies, and I don't want to leave anybody's name out, but I know Dan wrote the original independent film, which became a cult classic. I think our pal J.B. Thompson is involved with the film in some capacity, and Ezekiel will be here. He is the lead role of Ed Gein. He'll be here at 7:35. So 2 fun guests. And our question of the night, we got to get to this, Conrad. We're running out of time here in this first segment. It is National Cocktail Day. So our question of the night is coming up.
Let's talk about the question.
Okay, question.
Question.
Pregunta.
Question.
Question.
Hey, I have a question. Questions?
This question.
Domanda. Question.
Question.
Questions.
If you could only have one more drink, that's it, what would it be? And I assume people will respond with a cocktail, Manhattan, old-fashioned, martini, a beer, good glass of wine, whatever it is. But you could only have one more drink. What are you choosing in honor of National Cocktail Day? I think for me, I think it would be a nice dirty vodka martini. Not total dirt, a splash of dirt. A little bit of olive juice in there, but man, for a guy who hasn't drank in 2.5 years, I think that's what I would do. What would you do?
It would have to be a mojito.
Oh, mojito's good too, yeah.
That's my favorite all-time drink, so it'd have to be that.
God, a margarita would be good too. There's so many drinks to choose from. Let us know. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. What is your drink? If you could only have one more, it's National Cocktail, folks. Cocktail Day. Pour one and listen to the rest of the show and be here and join us and be part of the fun here on Nightlight tonight. We got a great show. John Roach coming up at 6:35, Ezekiel Drews at 7:35, and we'll read your text when we come back and talk a little bit about the Badgers. It's Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This love of mine keeps growing over time, and you know it just ain't easy. Open up your heart, let's come together. Use a little more, and we will make
From Denmark to De Pere, this is 97.9 WGBW.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 920-332-5578. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free consultation by calling QC Kinetics at 920-332-5578. That's 920-332-5578.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Folks, we've got to talk about Derek Van Orden. The second-term congressman representing Wisconsin's 3rd District is at it again, dodging public meetings and making all kinds of unhinged comments. As many scramble and struggle to understand the chaos of what's happening in Washington, D.C., and how it's impacting people here in Wisconsin, Van Orden has been as frustrating and disrespectful as ever. In one instance, Van Orden took to social media to berate a veteran who had been fired from his job at the VA by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. And the veteran in question is simply someone who was just reaching out to his congressman, looking for answers. Van Orden's office has also hastily canceled public meetings, and he has made some especially wild accusations about people who have been attending these public events. Congressman Van Orden needs to stop this unhinged madness, and more importantly, be more available and accountable to his constituents.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulate.
Our question of the night is, if you could only have one more drink, what would it be? It is National Cocktail Day, ladies and gentlemen. And it begs the question, one more drink your whole life. What are you going to sip, nurse, suck down, guzzle, however you do it? Let us know what your drink of choice is. You can text us on the app. Very easy to use, and you need it to play the new Civic Media Spring Break giveaway as well. And it's very easy to text off the app. You can text us old school at 855-752-4842-855-75-CIVIC. And if you're listening on the stream, that is fine too, folks. It's just great to have you. AJ says, hi, Pete and Conrad. I'm super excited for the Wisconsin Film Festival. That makes two of us, AJ. Will either of you be down in Madison during that time? And if I had one last drink, it would be an Irish coffee. I don't care about quality of coffee or liquor. Just give me coffee, whiskey, and some sort of Irish cream. Wow, that's a great answer. AJ, I will be at the Wisconsin Film Festival for the first 4 days or so. I'll be hosting the Meet the Parents event. They're going to show the original film, the indie film shot by Greg Leanna. I will be hosting the Q&A there. That's Saturday afternoon. But say hi if you see me. I'm all over the place during that week. It's a fun time. Brian from Milwaukee says, a Dirty Shirley. What was that? We had that. Somebody else liked the Dirty Shirley on the show.
What? I got to look it up. I got to go to the Google.
A Shirley Temple is a non-alcoholic, so maybe they just put whiskey in there. Maybe it's like an old-fashioned. It might have been Brian, too. Now I'm embarrassed. I forgot what a Dirty Shirley is, but...
It's all right. So so it's vodka, lemon lime soda, ice, grenadine, and then cherries.
Okay.
Maraschino. I think that's how you say it, right?
Sounds delish.
It
Maraschino
does.
cherries, yeah. Tom from New Orleans says a 5-gallon muddled old-fashioned brandy, of course. Sure. I guess they never specified how big the drink could be. Tom says 5 gallons. I mean, if you're going to go that route, Tom, just saying endless drink. Anna from Madison says, hi, Pete and Conrad. My last drink would be a rum and Coke.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. That's a popular bar drink in Wisconsin.
It
rum and
really
diet.
is.
Yeah.
It really is.
We have a call?
Yes, we do.
Oh, who do we have?
Ollie from the Northwoods.
Ollie! Ollie, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I'm not a big drinker, but I will tell a little story about years and years and years ago.
Okay.
my sister and I went to a place, and they used to have a mix that was called Hereford Cow, and it came in flavors like chocolate or vanilla or banana or strawberry. And after we had a few, then we asked the bartender if he could mix us up one with all the flavors together, and he said, well, what do you call that? And we said, oh, we call it a stampede. So a stampede would be good.
A stampede would get the job done, it sounds like.
You bet.
Oh, Ollie, that's fantastic. Thank you, as always, for the call.
Okie doke.
All
Bye-bye.
right, have a great night. Maybe I would go with a stampede. I don't know.
That sounds interesting.
It did. From the 262, listening on WAUK, they say a Moscow Mule.
Oh,
there you go. You said mojito, right?
I do, but
Okay.
a good Moscow Mule is really,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Tyler from Wisconsin Rapids says, pour me a Blatz. Cheers. That's not a bad way to go. I mean, if it's your last drink, why tease yourself? Throw down a Blatz. I get it, Tyler. Carolyn from Heartland says, love a good Cosmo. Okay. You and Michael Scott from The Office. He loves his Cosmos. That's a great one. Monica from Mount Horeb says a chocolate martini. Believe it or not, I've never had a chocolate martini.
You know what? I had
People love 'em.
a key lime martini once.
Oh, that sounds good.
And it was amazing.
Monica says, also, the Bartell Theater in Madison is now playing films. This Friday is Hundreds of Beavers. Haven't seen it yet? Going based on your recommendation. Be sure and tell them it's based on our recommendation, Monica, when you show up at the theater. That's a great little theater and a great little movie, which isn't even a little movie anymore. I think it's grossed over $1 million as like a $150,000 independent film. Very funny. Would love to hear what you think of it, Monica, after you've seen it. Ed in Madison says, perfect Manhattan, 2 ounces of rye, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, 1 ounce dry vermouth, 5 to 7 dashes of Angostura bitters. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I didn't know. Actually, I did know there was bitters in Manhattan. He says, shake with ice, 15 to 20 seconds, serve straight up with a thin orange peel, squeeze the peel over the drink. Ed in Madison. Well done, Ed. That was poetry, buddy. Steve in Florida says, in honor of Wisconsin being the dairy state, my last drink would be vanilla ice cream mixed with brandy. I think that's a Brandy Alexander, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Or very close to it, yeah. Conrad's mom checks in and says, I like Wisconsin brandy old-fashioned sour. I found out that other states do not make old fashions the same way. Yeah, we're kind of like the old-fashioned state, I think.
Yeah.
We just do it a little differently here. I like whiskey old-fashioned myself.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of other states make it where you can really taste the alcohol.
Yeah, totally.
We do not here.
Right. Hey, are we good on that clip?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right, we'll play it when John's here. We have a clip from the film A Road at Night. The director and producer, John Roach, is here to discuss his film, which will be playing at the Wisconsin Film Festival Sunday, April, I think that's the 6th. I think it's the 6th, yeah, at the Barrymore Theater. John is an accomplished writer, producer, director. He co-wrote The Straight Story with Mary Sweeney, and it was directed by David Lynch back in, I want to say, 2000 or 1999. And there were Oscar nominations tied to that film as well. He's a very talented guy. He'll be here after the news, and we will discuss A Road at Night. A film that, for me, it's a tragic story of Howard Moore, former Wisconsin basketball player and coach. But hearing these guys talk about him and talk about Wisconsin basketball in a weird way made me feel better about what happened this weekend. The story is not, it's a fun story until the end. It's a tragic thing, but Howard Moore was just the story needed to be told. John did a great job telling the story, and it's about one of UW-Madison's own, a very cool film. And we will talk to John about that film after the news. Civic Media's news team, folks, is waiting to tell you what you need to know. So listen to it, absorb it, and move on with your life accordingly. John Roach is here in just a few minutes. Ezekiel Drews at 7:35 talking about Ed Gein the Musical. We are coming right back. Do not go anywhere. It's Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Some politicians are avoiding in-person meetings with their constituents. Savannah Tomei Olson reports on what you can do to make your voice heard.
And amid the confusion and chaos at the federal level, many Wisconsinites want to make their voices heard, and some are getting resistance from their congressional representatives. Congress is considering $2 trillion in spending cuts for programs that serve low-income families, seniors, kids, and people with disabilities. Every Wisconsin Republican in the House voted for the budget resolution. Megan Rowe with Opportunity Wisconsin says folks are having a tough time trying to share their views when members of Congress won't schedule meetings.
The campaign arm of House Republicans are encouraging members to not hold these meetings, which I think tells you just how much energy there is around these issues.
Opportunity Wisconsin has launched a website where people can petition their members of Congress to hold town halls. Under these proposed cuts, more than 1 million Wisconsinites could lose
26
benefits.
Wisconsin youth sports teams have new Nike cleats thanks to Green Bay Packers quarterback and fan favorite Jordan Love. The Love for Cleats campaign aligns with the Hands of Love Foundation's overall mission to encourage children from all backgrounds to engage in sports, promoting physical and mental well-being. Hands of Love Foundation also works to raise awareness about mental health and suicide prevention and to foster stronger relationships between law enforcement and the community. Last season, Love pledged to donate new cleats to the youth sports teams in the state for every touchdown he scored, whether passing or rushing in the 2024-25 season. See our story at WGBW.FM for a list of the teams receiving cleats. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. It looks like there will be a season 3 of Severance, the hit show that dropped its season 2 finale last week. Director and executive producer Ben Stiller say there will not be as long a wait for season 3 after there was a huge gap in between seasons 1 and 2 thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Apple TV show has been a giant hit for the streamer, which shouldn't be a surprise given 35 people have producer credits, including Ben Stiller and star Adam Scott. I'm late to the party and just started season 1. If you want to share your thoughts on Severance or whatever you're watching, tune into Nightlight and let's discuss. If you're looking to get into the entertainment business but are lacking material, you might be interested in a piece of intellectual property that just hit the market. The rights to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre have become available, and there will most likely be a bidding war between studios and/or actors who want to star. Or you. All you need are some deep pockets. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy tonight, a low in the mid-20s. A mostly sunny day for tomorrow, highs in the low 40s. Continued warming on Wednesday with a mix of sun and clouds. Highs to the upper 40s. And 50s likely ahead for the rest of the week. Right now it's 33.
Reviewing the week's legal news with a friend of the court.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding. Just like being in school.
It has been a week in the areas of law and government and the aspiration for justice in America. As always, I am delighted. I am honored that you have chosen to spend some of your weekend time with me in discussion.
Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel. Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. The Todd Alba Show.
Trevi, you sent me something this week on Trump tariffs that are going on and how this really impacts people specifically in Wisconsin. Talk a little bit about this, please.
10% of the jobs in Wisconsin are going to be negatively impacted. 8 out of 10 of those people voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's a killer. He's basically saying, I don't
Screw you. I mean, really?
Yeah.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Todd Alba.
Hey, everybody, join us next time. We will preview the spring election. One
This is Nightlight. Great to have you with me tonight, folks, on this Monday night. I am Pete Schwaba, riding shotgun as always. Not always, but as usual. Conrad, the K-Man Krieger. Or is it Kruger? Kroger? I don't know what's going on with your last name, but...
one of those was good.
Ezekiel Drews will be here at 7:35 tonight, folks, to discuss Ed Gein the Musical, which will be playing in Oshkosh April 4th through the 6th. I would love to attend that, and I'm anxious to see that play, but I will be in Madison this year at the Wisconsin Film Festival, as I am every year, representing PBS Wisconsin and introducing films and hosting Q&As and having a grand old time at what is one of the most underrated and really cool film festivals around, the Wisconsin Film Festival. And playing at the film festival is a film called A Road at Night, a documentary about former UW-Madison men's basketball player and coach Howard Moore. It will screen this year on Sunday. I believe it's April 6th at the Barrymore in the evening. I will get that information to you. Or we can ask our next guest, who is the filmmaker and creative force behind the film, John Roach. He joins us now on the stream. Hey, buddy.
Pete, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Look at
Good
that.
to see you.
Look at that. Look at that office chair, man. You are styling. That's
if you're a director, you have to set up a good shot.
That chair screams success.
It screams aging back from high school football. How's that?
That'll work too. Hey, great to have you. How you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing great. Got a little cough. I inherited another virus from my grandchildren, but doing fine. I'll kick it. Yeah, pretty good. Disappointed with the Badgers this weekend, but they had a wonderful season, and it was a heck of a college basketball game.
I was saying that before we went to the news, how much I liked watching your film today. I've still got a few minutes left of it because I got distracted, as I often do during the day, but it just made me so happy to be a Badger fan. You really showcase in the film that community in Madison, and sports, they have it. I think Wisconsin, they just won the state championship for girls hockey. It's just a great community.
National championship, yeah.
National championship. And you brought that out in this documentary. Now, it's about Howard Moore, and it's kind of a tragic story. So before we jump into the documentary, can you tell us a little bit about Howard as a person?
Sure. So I knew him enough to nod at him in passing. If you're in Madison and, you hang out around the university environment, I grew up like 4 blocks from Camp Randall on the near west side of Madison. And Tim Valentine, who's one of the executive producers, along with George Hamill, Tim is represented as an agent, Bo Ryan, Paul Christ, Greg Gard. Hanging with Tim, who's a great friend, I run into these guys, or I meet him, or I'm at having beers with him. And so I knew Howard enough to nod at him. And obviously I remember him when he was an athlete. But I didn't know him that well. And to some extent, I think it made the piece better because there was a lot of a journalistic exercise in the documentary. There was not a lot known about the accident. We developed the backstory on Jennifer, his wife, because it wasn't just about Howard. It was about Jaden, Jennifer, and his son, Jarrell. So I didn't know him that well, but after the first round of interviews with his teammates in the balcony of the old field house, it didn't take much to figure out that he was beloved, as was Jen. He was an unselfish player. He played a huge role in getting Michael Finley and Rashard Griffith and Tracy Webster to Madison, which really took the lid off the program, as Tom Oates says in the piece. And but it's not really a basketball story. Basketball is the stage upon which a bigger story plays out, and a more important story in some ways.
It's interesting you say that. I was kind of trying to figure out today how to frame, how to bring you on. And because you're right, it is about his family and the horrible tragedy. It was a car accident in Michigan. But you have so much leading up to that story before we meet his family about Howard. And, how do you tell people, like if you went to someone, John, and said, I have this documentary, Like, what's your elevator pitch? Because it's just a great story. Every aspect of it is fascinating.
It's the one line that jumped out at me was when the worst of times bring out the best in people. Because the community has just rallied around the Moors. And there's also a quote from James Baldwin that in doing the research I came upon, and James Baldwin's quote was, life is tragic and therefore unutterably beautiful. Because in the midst of this tragedy, there were so many beautiful moments. His teammates came from all over the country within 12 hours. His hospital room was filled. There's been a tremendous amount of support for the Moore family. Tim Valentine's been helping the Moores out for 5 years. Several teammates. Well, here's a great example. We were shooting interviews in the Moore household of Howard's father, Howard, Trennis, his mother, and his brother, Darnell. And all of a sudden, there's a big truck in the driveway. And so we stopped taping because there was an audio issue, and a huge container is unloaded. Michael Finley had a hyperbaric chamber delivered to Howard's home to aid in his recovery.
Wow.
Who does that?
That's incredible.
Yeah. And Howard is in a Stryker bed. Moselle Peterson, his teammate, works for Stryker, got him the bed. I mean, Howard is beloved. And when I interviewed his teammates, I was set to go. I mentioned one of the teammates that were, shooting out at the Moore's house. And I mentioned it to Chris Conger, who spent a lot of time on the bench with Howard. Howard had 100 points total in his whole career, but he was a great teammate. And I said, we're going to be interviewing Trennis Moore and Howard Moore Sr. and Darnell. And Chris Conger goes, oh, my God, Darnell. He was 10 years old when we were playing. I used to sneak him into the shell in my duffel bag. Because if you remember, anyone who went to Wisconsin, getting into the shell was like trying to get into a nuclear missile silo. It was really hard to get in. And in the off season, all the varsity players would hold court. And Darnell would come up from Chicago to visit Howard. He was a great brother. And so Chris smuggled him in a duffel bag, and they'd, set his duffel bag down at center court, and then a kid would jump out of the bag. So that's pretty good. But there's just a lot of love in the piece, Pete. There's just a lot of love in the piece.
Definitely. All right. So tell us about the movie, John, because people that are listening right now probably are wondering what happened. I kind of gave broad strokes, but tell the story of the tragedy and how this documentary came to be out of that.
Sure. So Howard had returned to the University of Wisconsin campus after being there as a player to be an assistant coach, first for Bo and then for Greg Gart. They were, coaches don't get a lot of time off, but Memorial Day is one of those little windows, and so Jennifer, Howard, Jaden, and Jarrell were in their car. They drove in their SUV. They drove to Chicago to visit Howard's parents. And as many people do, they were leery of rush hour traffic. So they headed to Detroit to visit Jennifer's mother at about 11, 12 at night. So they would get out of Chicago. And it's about a 3-hour, 4-hour drive to Detroit from Chicago, but a lot faster if you're not hung up on traffic. So they stopped for gas outside of Ann Arbor, got back on M5, which is kind of like an interstate highway. And Jen took over for Howard at the wheel because Howard was tired. And while they were filling up for gas, a young woman named Samantha Winchester was leaving a bar that she was at with two friends. Her friend was a bartender and then a friend who was sitting alongside her. And Samantha consumed about 7 drinks, most of the majority of them hard liquor, in about an hour and a half. And she was a slight woman. And her friend said, "Stay with me." She said, "No, I'm fine to get home." She got on M5, and somewhere in the night, on this road at night, Samantha got confused and did a U-turn in the middle of the interstate and barreled down the highway and hit the Moores head on as they were coming around a turn on this interstate. The car was engulfed in flames. Jen was aflame. Howard was burned on the upper third of his body, but Jarrell was able to pull him out of the passenger side, went back to get his sister Jaden in the way back of the SUV. The family dog jumped into his arms, and he was trying to get Jaden out, but the flames were so bad, people were pulling him away. The dog jumped out of his arms to be with Jaden, and they both perished in the back of the truck. Jen perished later at the hospital. Howard's teammates sprang into action. But the heart of the story, Pete, it's about drunk driving. Once every 37 minutes in America, someone's killed in a drunk driving crash. And Samantha was a nice young woman. She and her friends didn't make one good decision that night. Not one. When they had several chances to make one good decision. And so I think that the doc is about when you head out into the night, be careful that you don't set off a cascade of events that can affect a family and a community forever. And you know, the storytelling came in because in order to know what was lost, you had to know the Moores.
Right.
You know, and they were truly beloved. Howard was an unselfish guy. One of the most troubling things about it is Howard was a wonderful athlete, 6'8", and he was one of the most garrulous guys you'd ever meet. And now he can't walk and he can't talk. And he lost his wife and daughter, and it's like the book of Job. But I will say, George Hamill, who's an executive producer, and Tim Valentine, they just didn't sit idly by. Right after the accident, COVID descended upon the land. And as we came out of COVID, George really echoed what a lot of people were saying is, what's going on with Howard? How is Howard? And once George understood Howard's condition, which is very challenging, he and Tim were talking. They were actually at a football game, and they said, we got to do something for Howard, and we have to let people know what happened and how he's doing now, and we have to raise some money for him. So Tim George is a great guy. His sister was in my 5th grade class at Blessed Sacrament Grade School in Madison, and they talked to me, and I said, this is not just a 4-minute piece. To me, and I think they were thinking the same way, I said, this feels like a documentary. There's a lot of story to be told.
The film is A Road at Night. My guest is John Roach. He is the director of the film. It plays Sunday, April 6th at 7 p.m. at the Barrymore Theater and tells the story of the Moore family and a tragic accident. But not just, I mean, you have the tragedy in there, John, but you have this great story about two really, including his wife and how they met and the kids and how Howard came up playing basketball. And I want to ask you a little bit after a very short break about his connection to Madison. And maybe we could tell a little bit more about the person Howard is to the listeners right now when we come back. John Roach is here. We'll get into that and learn more about Howard Moore after this very short break. It's Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Lebanon to Alloway. This is 97.9 WGBW. Ready? While the teams get ready to choose their top draft pick, You can help Mino and the mayor choose their top craft pick.
Northeast Wisconsin is home to amazing breweries, wineries, cideries, and distilleries, and we need your help picking the best.
We've drafted 10 of our favorites, but which local craft beverage creator will go to number 1? That's up to you. Top craft pick creators include Kerrigan Brothers Winery in Kaukauna, Stillmank Brewing Company in Green Bay, Old Station 31 Spirits in Dale, and Old Bavarian Brewing Company in Appleton. Vote for your favorite now by logging on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick. When you vote, you'll enter a random drawing to win $250 in gift cards from participating craft creators. Don't wait. Voting ends Friday, April 18th. Log on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick and vote right now. Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick, drafting Northeast Wisconsin's finest one sip at a time.
Hey, it's Amanda with another new Wisco 411 for you. And the second annual Brews and Baskets is coming back on Saturday, March 29th from 1 till 4 p.m. at the Appleton Beer Factory. You can join the community at this fundraising event that's benefiting the animals of the Safe Haven Pet Sanctuary and the Puffy Shop Cat Cafe. Kitten season is just around the corner, and they need your help now more than ever. It's family friendly and it's free to attend. Head to WGBW.FM and click events to learn more.
Wherever you are in Wisconsin, there's a free and confidential Aging and Disability Resource Center, ADRC, or Tribal Partner Agency. We're here for older adults, adults with disabilities, and your families. ADRCs are a bridge to support for benefits and financial assistance, transportation, in-home care, and more. Get to know your local ADRC and connect with resources today. Call toll-free 1-844-WIS-ADRC or go to Find My.
I get so lost sometimes.
Welcome back to Nightlight. I am Pete Schwaba, and we are doing Monday the way Monday should be done. We're talking about a couple of really cool movies. Ezekiel Drews will be here at 7:35 to talk about Ed Gein the Musical. We had a chance to talk to Ezekiel a little earlier, and we will play that at 7:35. Right now, my guest is John Roach. He is an accomplished writer, producer, and Wisconsin native. His most recent project is A Road at Night, and you can see it at the Wisconsin Film Festival. It tells the story of Howard Moore and his career at Wisconsin and a tragedy that happened to his family during a drive from Chicago to Michigan. And John, as you mentioned, it's really a story about just people making a mistake and how it affects people. It was so fun in your film to get to know who Howard was.
Yeah,
and I love early on. His dad says, his dad wanted him to go to Northwestern. He said, "Dad, I want to go to Wisconsin." He took a visit to Wisconsin, and he said to his dad, "I just want you to know, if I like the visit, I'm going there." He already seemed to have had a connection with Wisconsin. Is that because of recruiters, or why was he drawn there?
I think it was just the vibe. Howard was more than an athlete. He was a student leader. He was like an ombudsman for the basketball program to the student population at large. And I think he just strolled around and said, this is me. I can do this. And there's so many beautiful little anecdotes. And the film, obviously there's a tragedy, but there's so much, there's forgiveness, there's love, and there is hope. Howard's making incremental improvements every day. And his son, Jarrell, is a star. He's just a wonderful young man. But one anecdote that I loved, Howard's dad, Howard Sr., who was retired engineer in Chicago, and I said, "So you came up for all the games?" He goes, "I did come up for all the games. Sometimes my wife would go with Michael Finley's wife, and they would drive up, and I would take the country roads to Madison because I loved looking at all the cows." It's also about the undying bonds of teammates. There are certain experiences in your life, like being a teammate or being in the military in combat or being in a rock and roll band, whatever it might be, where you're subjected to a certain level of intensity together as a group. And these guys are bound for life. They are brothers. And to be a witness to the love that they have for each other was an honor, truly an honor.
Yeah, that's a great. To me personally, that's my favorite thing about the whole film is hearing the teammates talk. Rashard Griffith, Michael Finley, and Tracy Webster. You forget Andy Kilbride. What a team they had then too.
Oh, they had a great team.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but we have a clip here that I want to play that we were unable to play earlier. But we have a clip from this is a clip from A Road at Night, John's film, which will be playing at the Wisconsin Film Festival. Let's hear that now, Conrad.
Phone's ringing. I'm like, why is Joe Krabanoff calling me at 6 in the morning?
I saw a tweet early that Saturday morning that just said, we're praying for Howard. And I was like, huh.
So I was like, okay, this got to be something. So let me answer. I'm like, hello?
Am I, hey, big bro, are you sitting down?
I pull over and I make the call, and Richard told me what happened, and
He was hysterical on the phone.
And I was like, well, no, maybe it's somebody else.
It was Greg Gard. Coach, I got bad news for you.
You just can't imagine anything of that magnitude happening to a family and to someone that you love and you care about.
Really powerful. You have great interviews, John.
Thank you, Pete.
You've got Bo Ryan, Greg Gard, Barry Alvarez. I'll just tell you this: when I started we both discussed our connection to Chicago and Wisconsin.
Yeah, right.
I had only lived here for middle school and high school, and I couldn't wait to get back to the big city. But I became a Badger fan in like 1990. I want to say it was. I was working.
Good timing, Pete.
I know. How about that? I was working the Funny Bone in Pittsburgh, and this guy comes up to me after the show, and he says, hey, really great job. We start talking. Turns out it was Barry Alvarez's brother, and he said, my brother just took the because I did a couple jokes about Wisconsin. He said, my brother just took the head coaching job for the football team. I was like, oh, no kidding. So I started following Barry Alvarez, and I was hooked on the football team and the basketball team as well. It was a great time to become a Badger fan because the school just took a different turn when those two teams in particular became competitive. And like you say in your documentary, it was the first time they made a tournament appearance for the basketball team in 47 years.
Well, what's interesting is that both the basketball and football programs were ascendant at the same time. And
Yeah.
Barry Alvarez knew all those guys because the basketball offices and the football offices were adjacent to each other in Camp Randall at that time. They hadn't remodeled anything, and the big television money hadn't dropped yet. And so, Barry, he just was great at working with young guys. He'd see Richard wander through and Mike Finley wander through. And Andy Kilbride talked about how Barry's program fed the energy from what Barry was doing, fed into the basketball program and vice versa. So it was just young guys having success in a program that hadn't had any.
That's a great story. When we come back, can we keep you through the news, John? Are you good on time?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
I'd love to ask you for some more questions. One of the ones I want to ask you about is a great story that Andy Kilbride tells about getting his hair cut. Howard wanted to cut his hair. And this just shows what kind of person Howard Moore was. It's a great story.
Absolutely.
You're going to want to stick around for it because it's just a great story. And we're talking about A Road at Night. It plays at the Wisconsin Film Festival Sunday night, April 6th at the Barrymore Theater. John will be there. And it's a great place to see a film and a great film. We're coming right back after the news here on Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home of Mino and the Mayor.
Rational Revolution with Mark Becker.
This week on Rational Revolution, we have Judge Susan Crawford talking about her election, and we get a State of the State update with Senator Chris Dassler-Alfheim.
Saturdays at 2, Sundays at 1 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Winter is out and winning is in. It's our Break into Spring statewide text to win contest on your local Civic Media radio station. Your daily shot at a Chula Vista getaway, Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets, or $100 cash. And every entry gets you closer to the grand prize. A brand new Verlo Queen mattress set complete with a mattress, sheets, protector, and pillows. Download the Civic Media app from the App Store or Google Play Store. Choose your stations, listen in, then get set to text to win. It's time to break into spring with WGBW. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app. This is 97.9 WGBW Denmark, Green Bay's real news and great conversation, a Civic Media radio station.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Hearing arguments over the administration's use of a 1798 law to round up and deport without any hearing or due process people suspected of being criminals or terrorists, a 3-judge federal appeals court today. Calling it a security breach, incompetent, and more, the House Democratic leader about a group chat involving senior administration members, which an editor at The Atlantic magazine claims he was on, added by mistake by Mr. Trump's national security advisor. Advanced plans for U.S. airstrikes on Yemen were discussed, says The Atlantic.
I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it.
President at the White House. FBI says it's launched a task force with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to go after suspected attackers of Teslas and Tesla dealerships, calling the attacks domestic terrorism. And announcing Hyundai plans to build a steel mill in the U.S. to serve its auto plants in Alabama and Georgia, President Trump. This is ABC News.
I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News. Your news in depth. Find it in the news section at WGBW.FM. For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. With just days left to go until the nonpartisan Wisconsin Supreme Court election, President Donald Trump has endorsed Judge Brad Schimmel. Schimmel's opponent, Susan Crawford, called Schimmel a corrupt politician who will bow to right-wing special interests.
We have to make sure that we keep this partisan politician off our Wisconsin Supreme Court. We don't need to politicize the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and we don't want to politicize our Constitution. So I'm counting on all of you to help me make sure that doesn't happen, and that we have a Wisconsin Supreme Court that is continuing to protect the people of Wisconsin and not the partisan special interests.
Crawford made her comments in the Winnebago County Democrats' office in Oshkosh Saturday at the start of a 10-day, 21-county campaign tour of the state. The election for Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice is on the April 1st ballot. Early voting is going on this week. North American river otters are known for being playful and quite mischievous. They love to slide and slip and do all sorts of cool little things. Louie and Ophelia, who reside at the new zoo in the greater Green Bay area, have proven the fact and are sending zoo officials on a bit of a chase. Thursday, during the recent storm that dumped so much snow on the area, Louie and Ophelia escaped their enclosure through a small breach in fencing. The zoo said keepers noticed right away that they had escaped and initiated protocols to find them. The otters are no danger to the public, but they're looking for them and hope to have them home as soon as possible. The new zoo Facebook page has several videos from the zoo and the community at large of the naughty otters playing and slip-sliding around in the snow. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
The Badgers women win the Frozen Four. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Wisconsin women's hockey team beat Ohio State 4-3. Kirsten Sims with 2 goals, one to tie it up, the other for the win in overtime.
All year, we have been unbelievable all year, top to bottom. This team has had so much depth. There's so much talent everywhere. To just be able to come out on top and prove it time and time again, and then to really prove it in a game like this, and this is a huge adverse game that we had to go through, and to be able to still come out on top just shows how incredible of a group this is, and I couldn't be happy enough for us.
It's the 8th time the Badgers have won the women's national title under head coach Mark Johnson, who praised Sims' performance.
National championship game. If you miss, the game's probably over. Then it comes down to who wants to step up. A couple players mentioned Kirsten. The ownership's hers. I'll take it. Okay, go get it.
There's a team celebration open to fans tonight at the LeBron Arena in Madison. NBA, the Bucks are in Phoenix against the Suns. Milwaukee beating the Kings over the weekend, 114-108. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy tonight, a low in the mid-20s. A mostly sunny day for tomorrow, highs in the low 40s. Continued warming on Wednesday with a mix of sun and clouds. Highs to the upper 40s. And 50s likely ahead for the rest of the week. Right now it's 33.
The Dom Salvia Show.
Brian from Milwaukee.
If you're not getting active, or you're just going to sit back and say, well, it's not affecting me, I'm not going to do anything yet, then you're a part of the problem.
It's about being honest with yourself, what your own values are. And in order to do that, you got to come up with what those are. We use that philosophy and then we go vote. The only perfect representative for you is you. Unless you're going to run, you got to pick somebody.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
Yo, I'm your old basketball. Haven't seen you out on the courts in a while. Why not pass me over to Goodwill? Donating me helps Goodwill's mission to provide career training and support services right here in the community. And that's a slam dunk. Donate today. Hey, I got next.
To find your nearest Goodwill locations and to learn more about our mission, please visit goodwill.org. Goodwill, where your things start new lives.
Dom Salvia.
Next time, fallout from the Trump administration's sharing battle plans with the media. Plus, did the Venezuelans get treated worse than
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who appreciates a nice hot meal at a fair price, Pete Schwaba.
It's true, folks. A nice casserole would be good right about now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have this amazing Text to Win contest happening at Civic Media right now. It's our Break into Spring Text to Win contest. It's statewide, just like Nite Lite. Your daily chance to win a Chula Vista getaway, Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets, or $100 in cash. Plus, every entry puts you into our grand prize drawing of a brand new Queen mattress set from Verlo that includes a mattress, sheet set, mattress protector. We went into all that earlier. What mattresses need to be protected from, and could help you against an intruder too. And pillows for Text to Win. Tune in every day at 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. Find out the keyword and then text it in on the app. That's the thing. You got to download the app, folks, but it's very easy to use. You won't regret it, and then you can take all your favorite Civic Media hosts with you wherever you go. But you have to download the app to play, listen at those times, wait for the word, and text in the word, and you are entered in the daily prize and for the grand prize. My guest at the moment is John Roach. And John, we've gotten some nice texts. My friend Dave texts in, can't wait to see the movie. Sounds great. Tom from New Berlin says, powerful, Pete, thanks. I think you mean that directed at John, Tom, but thank you for the text. He's the one that made the documentary. Tom also says, what a great interview. Looking forward to the film. Pete Love. Well, I have love for John. I'm so glad you're here, John. And you just made a great
Pete, you're
film.
my new best friend. You're my new best friend for life. Because when we met on the set at WHA, it was like, well, my God, haven't I known this guy for 40 years?
It is weird. I told Mary Picorni Donlin, the producer of Director's Cut, where we met, because you were on that show as well. We only had 5 minutes, though. But I said, I feel like I've known this guy my whole life. And I'm a huge fan of your work, John. We'll get to some of the things you've done in just a minute, but I'd like to just spend a few more minutes, if we could, on your amazing documentary, A Road at Night, which you can see at the Barrymore Theater, April 6th at 7 p.m. John, you'll be there, right, for a Q&A?
Yeah, we're doing a Q&A. Jason Joyce is the moderator from the Isthmus, and Darnell Moore will be there. Jarrell Moore will be there. Richard will be there, as well as George Hamill, who is, served as the EP.
That's excellent. And another text came through from the 608. My son's film, I hope I'm saying this name right, Levon Blackburn's Mendota, A Symphony of a Lake, will be screened with your film, John, right before.
Oh, I didn't know that. Great.
I believe. Yeah, right before A Road at Night. They always put a short or two before
Sure.
the feature films.
Wonderful.
And she says it's a delightful look at Lake Mendota through all 4 seasons. It took him 16 months to film and edit. Well, thank you for the text, 608, and break a leg to your son. That sounds like a lot of fun. And it sounds like a great group of films that whole night, because A Road at Night will headline the event. John, I love, like, I'm a transplant to the Wisconsin community and to the Madison community. I've been going down to Madison now for about 10 years, and it's nice to feel part of that because it's such a great city. It's such a great university. The history is incredible. I love this story from your documentary. It's Andy Kilbride telling the haircut story.
Sure.
Howard Moore could tell something was going on with him, so he says he offers to cut his hair, and I'll let you take it from there.
Sure. Well, both Howard and Andy are seniors, and they've had this fantastic success. But, when you're graduating, you're thinking about jobs and where you're going next. And Andy was struggling. I don't know if his minutes were cut a little bit, or maybe he wasn't shooting. He was a very good guard. His nickname was Killer, and he was really a good basketball player. But he was struggling with his personal life and everything. And there's a lot of pressure on these guys. And he was depressed. And Howard noticed it at practice in the locker room. And he said, Andy, you okay? He walked up to him in the locker room, kind of quiet, sotto voce, and said, hey, Killer, you okay? And Andy said, anyone else, I would have said, yeah, I'm fine. But with Howard, I looked at him and said, no, I'm not. And he goes, you need to come. Howard goes, come on over to my house tonight. I'm going to cut your hair. Now, I don't know if he'd ever cut Andy's hair before. And Andy had hair issues, which he's managed very well into adulthood. But Andy's going, well, I don't need a haircut. And he goes, come on over. I'm going to cut your hair. And so he sits him down in a chair, puts a sheet over his shoulders. He goes, tell me what's going on. And Andy said, I will never forget that for the rest of my life. And that's who Howard was. That's who Howard was. He was a leader, is what he was. He was a natural born leader.
Well, that certainly comes across. I've never felt more, honestly, the picture you paint, John, with that community, basketball, sports, Madison, all of it. And these guys come across as family in the film. And one of the quotes I love about Howard, that I think it was said more than once in your documentary, maybe once by a player and a coach, he was the single best teammate I ever saw. Now,
excuse me. That was Stan Van Gundy, who went on to coach the Orlando Magic, won an NBA championship. Now he does color for the NBA. He was an assistant and then a head coach after Cofield left. And he and Howard remained close through the years. And Andy has a quote in the doc where he goes, well, everyone talks about culture. And, we coaches like to talk about it. But really, the people who make the culture are the players, especially guys like Howard Moore. Howard wasn't getting a ton of minutes, but he was helping. He said Howard was the kind of guy who came in and thought, playing on the scout team, how can I make Mike Finley better today? How can I make Tracy Webster better today? And I have to tell you, Pete, I played basketball in high school. I couldn't do that. I hated playing the scout team. I quit because of it. And it takes a special guy to be that selfless. And I have to say, Jennifer was a star as well. She had her master's in engineering. Yeah. She was a woman of color in the UW Engineering School in 1992. So she was a rara avis and went on to get her graduate degree. And she was a force of nature herself.
And you cover that in the doc where you say she's like the same as Howard. They both would engage with anybody, just spread the joy around the campus. But I love that, the best teammate. Like there's so much to be said for that, because so few people are Michael Jordan or LeBron James.
Right.
And if you're a great teammate, there'll always be a spot for you. One other thing I wanted to ask you that took place is tell the story, John, about John Roach is my guest. He's the director of A Road at Night, which you can see at the Wisconsin Film Festival, April 6th at the Barrymore Theater. There are still tickets remaining, folks. So if you're in the Madison area or feel like a road trip, come on down to Madison. And it's a great film festival and a great film. I love the way, John, that Howard campaigned for the assistant coaching job with the Badgers. I think he was coaching at UIC or Ball State or something. He wanted to go back to Madison.
He had been at UIC. Yeah, he had been at Bradley. And then I think he came from Bradley the first time with Bo.
Okay.
And he would, Bo said, every time I saw him, he would work me a little bit. He didn't go over the top. And, when you're a coach in Bo's position, there are guys working you all the time for an assistant's job. Everyone wants in on the Big Ten. Everyone wanted in on Bo's program because it was ascendant.
Yeah.
And then when, Bo did his due diligence, he had Howard and Jen into his office and he offered the job to Howard, and Howard started to cry. And Greg Gard says, well, Bo always wants to tell everyone that Howard hugged him first. He didn't. He hugged Jen first. Then he hugged Bo. And Bo goes, I've offered a lot of jobs. I've never had anyone hug me, And there's just a lot, Pete, you're so into it. You get it. There's so many beautiful moments in the midst of the tragedy. That's, there's these counterpoints and there's forgiveness. Howard asked all those people. Howard was a man of faith. Howard is a man of faith. His families are people of faith, and they have hope. And Howard is improving incrementally. But when he was in his hospital bed in Ann Arbor, having lost his wife and daughter, his pastors from Madison Blackhawk Church came to Ann Arbor, and they got next to the bed, and Howard said, well, we have to pray. So they prayed. And then they said, amen. And Howard goes, wait a minute. We have to pray for that young woman who died in the other car.
Oh, wow.
Too, because her family is mourning as well. That was the woman who killed his wife and daughter. That's Howard. By the way, I want to get one plug in. There is a website to help the Moore families. It's domorefor34.com. 34 was Howard's number. Do more for 34. And I would say that there is a fundraising component to this documentary, which we're proud of, frankly. But it's also, aside from helping support the Moore family, George Hamilton, Valentine, myself, we all believe that we're serving Howard and Jennifer and Jaden's memory to communicate what happened for the greater good, to have something good come from this accident. So someone will have the courage to grab their keys from their friends, or call an Uber, or cut someone off, because frankly, the bartender was complicit in this too. And if you see this doc, it's pretty powerful emotionally, and hopefully that emotion will stay with people and affect behavior.
Talk about, we have to do another break in about a minute, John, and I hope you can just finish this.
Pete, I feel like I'm sitting in the Village Bar.
We just posted to, it's domorefor34.com. If you're listening on the stream, that website is listed there as well. And PJ joins us and says the women's hockey UW Badgers won the national championship, as like John just said before. That's a pretty cool thing.
By the way, Mark Johnson, we've had Eric Heiden, we've had Ron Dane. Mark Johnson gets my vote as the greatest athlete from Madison, Wisconsin ever. Not only did he win 8 championships, he beat the Russians, which, by the way, I wish he would do again.
All right. When we come back, we'll have a couple more minutes with John, and then we'll let him get on with his evening. But I want you to tell also, Howard should get credit, and you give him credit in the film for recruiting one of the greatest basketball players in the history of UW. And
no
he
question.
is the one who brought him to the program, and we'll talk about that and tell you who that is right after a very short break. It's Pete Schwaba and Nightlight. Great to have you with me, hanging out with John Roach here on a Monday night on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for the Todd Allball Show.
Celebrate the women who have helped shape the world as we honor Women's History Month with powerful stories of Wisconsin's own. We acknowledge the courageous efforts of Dickie Chappelle. She defied expectations to become the first female war correspondent, reporting from the front lines of World War II and the Korean conflict. Editors at Life magazine and National Geographic called the Milwaukee area woman one of the most respected reporters of her time. Chappelle was 40 years old when she took up parachuting. She then made history by becoming the first woman to be approved by the Pentagon to jump into combat with American troops. Sadly, while on assignment in Vietnam in 1965, she was killed by a landmine. She was the first correspondent, male or female, to die in action. Her fearless pursuit of truth in the face of danger remains an inspiration to us all. We recognize the powerful women from the past and those who are still writing their own history today. I'm Brittany Merlau.
Do you enjoy fatty foods, sweets, and alcohol? Who doesn't? Unfortunately, all those things put a lot of pressure on our liver. That's why pharmacist, best-selling author, and nutritional expert Sherry Torkos recommends Active Liver from New Nordic.
The liver is an incredible organ. It works nonstop to process toxins and chemicals from our food and drinks, medications we take, and even environmental exposures. As a health expert, I'm often asked how to support the liver's natural detoxification process and offset the effects of fatty foods, sugar, and alcohol. I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. This gentle plant-based supplement is an effective way to support your liver's vital functions as well as your energy and overall well-being.
With its powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, Active Liver is the perfect way to keep your liver healthy and you feeling your best. Active Liver is available in both a delicious gummy or tablet. You can find Active Liver in the vitamin aisle.
There's a problem with feathers, iron, bargain buildings, weights, and pulleys.
Welcome back. Tomorrow night on the show, actor from The Cleaning Lady. Cleaning Lady or Cleaning Woman, Conrad?
The Cleaning Lady.
It's a female cleaner. We know that. It's Bob Cicchini. He will be here. Bob was also in Godfather 3, a phenomenal actor, and then a local comedian, Kristen Leidy. That's tomorrow night on Nightlight. Right now, we have a few more minutes with our friend John Roach, who made the film A Road at Night. You can see A Road at Night at the Barrymore Theater, April 6th at the Wisconsin Film Festival. There are still tickets. It's going to be a great night and a really good event. And we learned about another film that will open for A Road at Night. We have a few more minutes with John. John, did Michael Finley try to give you some filmmaking pointers while you were making this? Or,
Mike's got some great credits.
Yes, he does.
Great, he did The Butler, which is a tremendous film with Forrest Whitaker. Mike is a very interesting, imposing guy. And Howard played a critical role in getting Mike to come to Madison, and also Richard Griffith. You and I both paid our Chicago dues. Howard, Tracy, Mike, Richard, and to a lesser extent, Andy. He was farther south from Chicago, but they were products of the golden age of high school basketball in Chicago. It was King basketball with their famed coach, Sonny Cox, where Richard played.
Yeah.
Where Simeon, Gordon Tech, there was a tremendous amount of talent coming out of there. DePaul had a good run in the 80s. But Mike was heavily recruited, but undervalued by a lot of recruiters. He was kind of skinny. He hadn't really bloomed yet. But Howard said, was with him on his visit. And he just said, Mike, if you come here, I got you. I will take care of you. And there's a poignant scene where Mike says, Howard is still taking care of me today.
Jeez.
And Michael went on to have a 14-year career in the NBA. He was the leading scorer for Wisconsin until Alondo Tucker came along. And the thing that all these guys love to drop is the year they made it to the tournament for the first time in 47 years, they beat the Fab Five by 20 points.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, the other guy that Howard is responsible for bringing to the university as a coach was Frank Kaminsky, which that 2015 doesn't happen.
Howard recruited Frank. He was on Frank early. And Chris Conger, who played with the Badgers with Howard during that era, and he was one of the leaders on the team as well. He went on to have this glorious career at Lake Forest College, where he broke all the winning records. He's a tremendous guy. And so he and Howard, Chris would be recruiting in the same circuit that Howard was. And very early on, Howard was on to Frank Kaminsky, and Chris Conger said, Howard, if you bring Frank Kaminsky to Bo Ryan, you're going to get fired. Because Chris didn't think much of Frank when he was a sophomore, but Howard was a big gangly kid as a sophomore too, and he knew how things can come along. I think Frank was at Bennett Academy or something like that in Chicago, and Frank went on to become the player of the year in 2015, and I think is still kicking around the NBA. And Frank said in no uncertain terms in the documentary, if it wasn't for Howard Moore, I would not have come to Wisconsin. I didn't look anywhere else because Howard was on to me early. He knew my game, and his word was good.
And that's one of the great things about your film is just hearing other teammates and other students or coaches talk about Howard Moore. Definitely check it out, ladies and gentlemen. If you can get to the Barrymore Theater on April 6th, A Road at Night, it's a great film. I'm trying to think. I've just got a couple more minutes. John, what was I want to ask you two more questions, and we've got about 3 minutes. What emotional toll did this film have on you, having to sit there with this footage and watch these gut-wrenching scenes for days at a time?
Yeah. So my oldest daughter, Katie, and I want to mention too, my son and his compatriots in LA, my son's a singer-songwriter in LA, they did the score for the film and did a wonderful job.
I saw
my oldest daughter
and the title and the credits. Yeah.
Oh, there are more roaches in the credits than a Brooklyn apartment. And because Bill Roach was a shooter, he's not related. My brother Jim was a second unit director. My son JT helped write the score. But my daughter Katie said, Dad, this is going to be hard on you. It was hard on all of us. Danny Boyle co-wrote it. Joe Fung shot and edited it. Joe is a master. But we all knew that what we were going through was nothing compared to the burden that the Moores carry every day. And what sustained us is that it was our hope that our work will help lighten their burden.
Yeah.
This was a work of passion. And everyone bought into it. Everyone bought into it.
That definitely comes through. We've got another text on the stream from John O'Neill, who says, thanks for this interview with John Roach. Although the events are tragic, the film sounds amazing. Thanks again, John. That's very well put. That's exactly what I think people will come away thinking, was that it was a sad but uplifting story. John, one of these days we'll have to have you back on, even though we kept you for an hour. I still didn't get to everything.
No problem.
I wanted to ask you about The Straight Story. We'll do that next time. John co-wrote The Straight Story, which was directed by David Lynch and shot here in Wisconsin. And I want to ask you about The Sports Writers on TV, a show you created in Chicago. Sports radio before there was sports radio, but we'll have to do both of those next time. Good luck with the film, John. Best of luck with the screening. I hope I'll be down there. I don't know what they have scheduled for me, but I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm going to look for you in some of the after film events, Pete. Okay,
I'll be there, buddy.
I owe you a beer for this. Thanks for helping promote the work.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great work. So keep it up, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
Okay, Pete. Thanks so much.
All right, that's John Roach. Check out A Road at Night if you can do it. You will love it, Conrad, too, because you're a big Wisconsin fan. And after
Yeah, I'm
this,
checking it out.
it was the perfect film for me to watch after seeing that loss 2 days ago, because you just see what a community UW-Madison is. And not just athletics. Athletics are certainly a huge part of it, but just the whole community as a whole. Were you yelling? I love Tanjay. But, oh, my gosh, they were down for so long. I just wanted to come down and launch a three and try to steal it.
Yeah, I can't believe I don't know. It looked like he was baiting for a foul. It wasn't the best last shot I've seen. But he still had a great game.
He had a great game. Great kid.
I haven't been this, hyped for Wisconsin basketball since Bronson Koenig or Frank Kaminsky. So I appreciate the season that he had, and it was fun to watch him.
Absolutely. We've got Ezekiel Drews coming up after the news. We will read your text. We ran out of time, and it wasn't the best text tonight for the subject matter that we were discussing anyway, but I will read text we didn't get to tomorrow night, so please tune in then as well. We've got pre-recorded content with Ezekiel Drews coming up. You won't want to miss it. It's a really fun project. It is coming up next on Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Well, I spent all that day fixing up to go somewhere.
Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for Matt and Air on Air.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. 1 month from today, hundreds of thousands of visitors will be in the greater Green Bay area for the NFL Draft 2025. And officials with the city of Green Bay, Ashwaubenon, and Brown County expect public safety expenses to exceed $2.5 million during the event. Governor Tony Evers has recommended giving $1 million to the agencies in his 2025-27 biennial budget to help offset those expenses. With just over a week to go, the Wisconsin Supreme Court race is heating up. Here's Melissa Kay.
Around 30 people gathered in Wausau on Saturday attending a rally for the Supreme Court race. While attendees waited for Brad Schimmel to arrive, campaign staff played the interview that was live-streamed on X, formerly known as Twitter, between Elon Musk and Brad Schimmel. Senator Ron Johnson was also in on the interview. Johnson thanked Musk for his financial assistance with both Trump's presidential campaign as well as Schimmel's current run for Supreme Court.
What he did in November in terms of helping finance a ground game to turn the vote out, and that's really what this call is about, is turn the vote out.
Musk encouraged people to tell Wisconsinites to vote.
Reach out to your friends and family in Wisconsin, educate them as to the importance of this race, which might not seem important, but it's actually really important.
After waiting close to an hour, attendees heard from Brad Schimmel for about 15 minutes. He chastised his opponent's campaign for taking money from billionaires. His response to money from Musk:
"It is hard to get that message to all the voters, so I'm grateful for help that's come in to give me air support to help expand that message."
The spring election is Tuesday, April 1st. Polls will be open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Early voting is already underway.
I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. I don't usually break news here, even if it's entertainment related, but there is always an exception. Vanna White, who has been turning letters on Wheel of Fortune for 43 years, recently disclosed to Drew Barrymore on her talk show that she has worn over 8,000 dresses. That's almost 1,000 more than Pat Sajak recently confessed to wearing. The beloved 68-year-old White says she's never taken a dress home, but the show does lend them out to her occasionally for big events. The wardrobe disclosure comes after White confessed to only working 34 days a year. What is the secret to keeping a show on the air for a long stretch? Many would say is to keep infusing it with fresh talent, whether it be writing, producing, or casting. The Emmy-winning show Only Murders in the Building has adapted that formula as they've added many actors over the years. The most recent addition to the cast will be Christoph Waltz. Variety reports that the two-time Oscar winner will join the show for season 5. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Partly cloudy tonight, a low in the mid-20s. A mostly sunny day for tomorrow, highs in the low 40s. Continued warming on Wednesday with a mix of sun and clouds. Highs to the upper 40s. And 50s likely ahead for the rest of the week. Right now it's 33.
Make your plan to be a voter Tuesday, April 1st. Then join Civic Media for special election night coverage when the polls close at 8.
You'll get statewide results for the Supreme Court and Superintendent of Public Instruction, plus referendum questions and other races important to you and your community.
Civic Media's news and political teams bring you special election night coverage Tuesday, April 1st, here on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. The Todd Alba Show.
Let's go to Ollie in the North Woods. Ollie, hiccups or gas? What's worse?
Well, I'd like to frame my answer in the form of sports. It depends upon whether you're a passer or a receiver.
That's great. Whether you're the passer or the receiver, that's the best line of the day.
The Todd Alba Show. Weekdays noon till 2 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
On Tuesday's show, Babs Smith joins us with details on the apple blossom tree planting coming up in Appleton, plus local artist Spencer Nolan Young.
Hey, this is Adam Brody, and you're listening to Nite with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Gonna be some sweet sounds coming down on the night shift. I bet you're singing proud.
Welcome back. This is Night Shift. Night Shift. This is Night Light. That was Night Shift. That's a great song. It's weird, but one of my favorite Commodore songs, two of them actually, I think, have nothing to do with Lionel Richie. He was gone by the time Night Shift came out. That was a song written for Marvin Gaye and Jackie Wilson. And Machine Gun is one of my favorite songs. It was used in the movie Boogie Nights, and there's no lyrics. So maybe Lionel Richie had something to do with it, but you always think Lionel Richie when you think the Commodores. I don't know. Should we change the name of the show to Night Shift, Conrad?
It sounds cooler, I think.
Oh, you know what? That was a test, and you flunked miserably. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to welcome my next guest to Nightlight tonight. This is a guy we've had on before. He is not dressed as impeccably as he usually is, but he's dressed like an actor, which is what he is. He's a Milwaukee actor and a film festival founder, and he joins us tonight on the stream, Mr. Ezekiel Drews. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Pete. Good to see you again.
Is the suit at the dry cleaners? What's going on? I love that fuchsia suit.
Well, you know what? I'm in process of trying to find a new pink suit. So that one's still around, but I am in the process of trying to get a new one. So
I would imagine
gotta keep it fresh.
They're not easy to find, I would imagine. Or maybe they are.
There's a bunch that are out there, you know, but if you want a quality pink suit, like you gotta do some research, and they're not going to be cheap. So.
And that was pink, not fuchsia. I remember it as fuchsia. Okay, all right.
Well, it's kind of like magenta, which is shade of pink. So.
It's an eye catcher, regardless. It's a great piece. It's great. They're great threads. So.
Yeah.
But I like the lid. You're still dressed very cool tonight, and it's good to have you on the show, buddy.
Thanks. Good to be back.
How are you?
I'm good. You know, we're getting ready to get into Tech Week soon for Ed Gein the Musical. So that's some exciting times coming up here.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of the whole reason you're here, right? So we can jump right into that. What do you have? Tell us first of all about the musical. It's based on the cult classic Ed Gein the movie. Yep. And typically with a cult classic, a lot of times people haven't seen it, but maybe this will direct more eyes toward the film. But tell us about the story and about what's coming up.
Yeah. So Ed Gein the Musical really, versus the film. The film is obviously, has all the different settings and everything versus the stage play, in order to condense it so that way, it's not too overwhelming. You've got two main functions of the stage. You've got the interrogation cell where Ed is being interrogated by the sheriff. And then you've got everything that's going on either in Ed's memories or his fantasies of what's going on, which is where like a lot of the song and the dance stuff happens.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know necessarily a lot about Ed Gein, Can you kind of give us a little background on him and why he was the inspiration for this show?
Sure. So, and I'm sure that, people who might have seen Dan Davies talk about it before,
Yeah.
Dan did, like 3 years of research about Ed Gein. So Dan's grandfather knew the sheriff that arrested Ed Gein. So Ed Gein is a serial killer and a grave robber, and he did a lot of nasty things. So I don't want to go into a lot of the really bad things that he did, but he was arrested because he had so many bodies and pieces of bodies and stuff in his house, and he murdered some different women and stuff, and was kind of doing some sexual things to the dead bodies and stuff. So that was that's a lot of what is out there about him. There's been a lot of stuff about him in the media over the years, different films that are based on him, including like Psycho, especially with like the whole mom talking to him and stuff. So it's it's a gross subject for people to talk about, and with the musical, especially about Ed, we're not trying to glorify him or anything. That's not the point of the musical. It's really just a treatise in terms of trying to find out how did Ed become this monster that he really is. There's a lot of stuff about him. He was abused, both physically, sexually, and stuff by his parents, and he also just didn't have a great relationship with a lot of people. He held a lot of that in. Was very nice to people. He would watch children and stuff for people. But it wasn't until after all this stuff came out that people were like, "Oh my God, this is Ed." So it really threw off a lot of people about how he was.
You talk about how graphic some of the things he did, gross, you said, and graphic, and some of the things he did after people died and all that kind of stuff. How much of that do you guys go into in the stage show? What can people expect? Like, it sounds funny. Ed Gein the musical, it sounds whimsical despite the things that he's done. What is the show like from a tonal standpoint?
I would say in general, so during like the musical, elements, it's kind of more lighthearted, but there are, it's tongue-in-cheek dark humor. There's a song that's based on all of my favorite things from The Sound of Music. It's called My Demented Things, where he lists all the different things that he likes to do to these dead bodies, like make them into lampshades on lampposts and stuff. And, it gets a little graphic in terms of like the words that are used to describe what he's doing. It gets pretty out there. So, but I would say like, there's no like graphic gore on stage or anything like that. A lot of it is just described and tastefully, if you can use that word when talking about him.
The guy's got his
for
quirks.
The stage production.
Yeah. Who do you play, Ezekiel, in the show?
I play Ed Gein.
Oh dear. Is that affecting? Yes. Is that affect? How much research did you have to do? Did you pull like a Al Pacino and really immerse yourself in the role, or what?
I actually had, because Dan did so much research into it, and I had a lot of conversations with Dan about like, here's how he is in these scenes. Like, this is the stuff that led up to this point. We talked a lot about the original film, like, hey, like how much of this was based on real, how much did you embellish and everything. And it was all like pretty much like spot on. Like, this is all like stuff that he did. A lot of names and stuff are altered just for privacy sake of people, but I mean, there's I know a lot more about Ed Gein than I ever really now care to have known, but it's all in there now, baby.
For those, all right. So Dan Davies, who is a Northeast Wisconsin-based actor, has been on the show several times, and he's a great guest, very talented guy. For those who might not have seen his work or heard him on the show, tell us a little bit about Dan.
So Dan is, man, he's probably one of my favorite people, and part of it because I actually brought him on when I shot my feature film Happy Birthday. He played a deranged president. So Dan, I had never met Dan before. I didn't know. I came back into the acting scene back, like 2-3 years ago. Had no idea who he was. Didn't know about Ed Gein the musical or anything. So Dan and I met. He's a very fantastic guy. he hadn't auditioned for a show for like 5 years before he auditioned for my feature film. But Dan is, if there's two things that I can say about Dan, is that he loves God and he loves his alcohol. So,
in that order?
Well, sometimes it depends on the day, I suppose. But he would tell you that, his order of things is God, family, and alcohol probably.
All right. Yeah, I've heard that I've heard that from Dan, actually. It's not even hearsay. It's Dan makes no bones about the fact that he likes to toss a few back, which is great. My guest right now is Ezekiel Drews. He's a Milwaukee-based actor and founder of a film festival. We'll get a plug in here for momentarily, but we're talking right now about Ed Gein the Musical, in which Ezekiel plays Ed Gein. The show runs April 4th through the 6th. Just a couple weeks away at the Time Community Theater in Oshkosh. How can people get tickets, Ezekiel? Where do they go to find out more information? Especially, like, let's say you got a couple kids that are middle school age. Is it appropriate? Like, what kind of rating would you put on it? No.
No, it is not appropriate for children. Please don't bring your children to this. There will be some audience interaction. So if you bring your children to this, I will interact with them. So,
all right. What if they're from really dysfunctional families and they're already kind of used to this sort of thing?
Well, then by all means, let's just
maybe
bring them in.
Help heal them. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Or it might make them worse. Who knows?
Yeah.
I would say I would rate this as probably, maybe, later years of high school into, anybody that can stand having a squeamish talk about certain sensitive topics.
Okay.
But if you want to get tickets, you can definitely go. I believe you can go to edgeinthemusical-play.com, and that'll take you to the website of that, or you can go to the Times Community website as well. I believe you can get tickets off there.
So how did you get involved with this show? You play Ed Gein, which I assume is the lead. Yeah. I know Dan plays a sheriff. Did you have to audition for this, or did Dan take one look at you and say, oh, no, this is the guy?
Well, it was really funny. So I know that originally Dan was actually going to revive the show and play Ed himself. But in his own words, he called me when I was up in DC back in November and said, hey, I'm a bit too old, and I've also, been drinking too much and been smoking too many cigars over the years. I don't think I can actually pull off singing anymore. So I was racking my brain, and you came up as the number one person that I thought about asking to do this. And I was like, oh, well,
wow.
Let's see if we can make this work. And we worked it out timing wise, and that, that's all she wrote, baby.
That's pretty cool that he's willing to not be the lead and know his limitations. I don't know what age Ed Gein was, but if he didn't cast himself for those reasons, that shows to me serious dedication to his own project. So good for him. So you're a singer then, Ezekiel. I didn't know that about you. You must be able to sing if you're in this musical. So how many numbers do you have to do, and who wrote all the music for the show?
Oh man. I'm trying to think. I think there's probably somewhere between 7 and 10 songs. I'd have to count them all. So I won't bore you with that right now. But in terms of who wrote it and stuff, I mean, a lot of it's, parody of existing numbers. Like I said, before, like My Favorite Things turns into My Demented Things. But Dan wrote all the lyrics. He wrote the whole stage play. Some of the music is original, which was written by Will Kaiser. From when the original film was made. So, there's a lot that goes into it. But, creatively, Dan, pretty much put pen to paper for all of it.
That's really cool. Have you guys seen it yet with an audience? Like, I know that there was a film that this is based on, and this is a stage show, different energy. Have you seen it with a crowd yet?
No. At this point, I'm not sure if we're going to have any kind of preview night or anything. We might, just to kind of see how people react to it. But as of right now, it's all just been an internal, just the cast and crew watching everything.
That's so cool. What can you tell? Like, how long is it? First of all, Ezekiel.
I would say it's somewhere between an hour and a half to an hour 50, probably.
And how do you guys want people to leave the theater? Do you want them to leave laughing, shaking their head? Honestly, like, it's a legitimate question. Like, what does Dan want from the audience?
Sure. There are some very intense scenes.
Okay.
especially just like we're seeing, where Ed is interacting with his father. That should probably scar people emotionally, or with his mom, like that should scar people in a different way. But there's a lot of humor in it as well. So I would say, I think that what Dan was looking for is he was looking for people to understand, just how it is that monsters are made. And we can look at this through a lens where we can laugh, we can be shocked, we can, maybe even cry, if people feel so moved to. But at the end, no one should feel sympathy for Ed. This is not like, oh, if only. No, this is just basically about how this guy became a monster.
Great answer. We're going to do a very short break, and we'll come back and have a couple more minutes with our guest, Ezekiel Drews. I'm going to ask him about his really cool film festival, which just had its inaugural event just a couple months ago. We'll be right back with more Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Just like the sunny morning light. And if you should see her, please let her know that I'm well, as you can tell.
The talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
Picture waking up to stunning waterfront views on Lake Michigan with private beach access right outside your door. Can you see it? Make it a reality and book a vacation rental in Door County, Wisconsin, and discover a world of natural beauty and relaxation. Explore charming small towns full of arts, shopping, and history. Head out for boating, kayaking, and hiking in scenic parks, or stop and sip local wines at Door County's best wineries and breweries. What kind of trip are you planning? Find your perfect Door County getaway today at simpleliferentals.com.
Appleton Cigar Company on College Avenue has been serving the community for over 25 years. If you are a cigar aficionado looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, you need to check out Appleton Cigar, which boasts the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee with over 706 cigars to choose from in a walk-in humidor. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails that pair perfectly with a premium cigar. For the full experience, come to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Ave, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com.
Ready? While the teams get ready to choose their top draft pick, you can help Mino and the Mayor choose their top craft pick.
Northeast Wisconsin is home to amazing breweries, wineries, cideries, and distilleries, and we need your help picking the best.
We've drafted 10 of our favorites, but which local craft beverage creator will go to number one? That's up to you. Top craft pick creators include Sturgeon Spirits in Oshkosh, Timekeeper Distillery in Green Bay and Wausau, and Ledge Rock Distillery LLC in Eden. Vote for your favorite now by logging on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick. When you vote, you'll enter a random drawing to win $250 in gift cards from participating craft creators. Don't wait. Voting ends Friday, April 18th. Log on WGBW.FM and click on Mino and the Mayor's Top Craft Pick and vote right now. Mino and the Mayor's Top.
Welcome back. This is Nightlight. I am Pete Schwaba. The world premiere of the musical play adaptation of the cult classic film Ed Gein the Musical is April 4th through the 6th at the Time Community Theater in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, just down the road here from downtown Green Bay. Pardon me. Originally aired, did this air, Ezekiel, am I reading this right? This aired nationwide on PBS, the movie?
Yes, sir. Yep.
No kidding. Just in Wisconsin here or nationwide?
I think it was nationwide.
That's incredible.
It's a cult classic, across all the states.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you guys got some good press from USA Today I saw recently, which is kind of exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
How does the film, last question about the show, how does the film compare, or how does the play compare to the film? Was the film a musical?
Film was a musical.
Okay.
I think there was actually, if I remember correctly, I think there was actually less music in the movie.
Okay.
There's been some additional songs that Dan added into it, basically just to kind of flesh it out, especially because in a film, like you've got liberties where you can have a lot of B-roll versus in a stage show, like you don't have a lot of B-roll. You got to fill in that time. You can't just have a lot of silence on stage.
Right. Hey, before we let you go, buddy, tell us about this film festival you created. You said you just got back into acting 2 or 3 years ago. In addition to that, you started this really cool, the Milwaukee Film Awards, right? Am I getting that right?
Milwaukee Independent Film Awards.
Independent Film Awards. Tell us about this really cool festival, and are you going to do another one? I would assume you want to.
Yep. Yeah. With the Milwaukee Independent Film Awards. So we're in season 2 right now. So we're, I think we are up to just over 80 submissions actually into season 2. We had like 157 for our first one.
Wow.
Which is, kind of crazy. If you talk to Dan, I talked to Dan and he said he's been doing his festival for like 6 or I think he's going on 7 years, and he's had, maybe just, around like 200 to 300. So we're kind of like, it's crazy the amount of films that we're getting in. And I think it's probably just, you probably see a big change in terms of that independent scene. A lot more people are trying to get in there, trying to get, seen and heard. And that's, the whole goal of doing the festival was to make sure that people are getting seen and heard. And if they want feedback on their films and stuff, we can do that for them.
I don't remember who the guest was, but a couple weeks ago, we had someone on who had a film in your festival and was absolutely in awe of what you were able to pull off when it came to venues being kind of spread out and the compact amount of time for the festival. So tip of the hat to you. That must have been exciting for you.
Yeah, we had like 44 films screened over 3 locations.
That's amazing. What's the acting climate like in Milwaukee? You're a Milwaukee-based actor. Is there a lot going on there, or is it the kind of thing where you have to move somewhere bigger to do the things you want to do, or can you do it from right there?
I think, just as an actor and then also as a filmmaker, I will tell you that, if you're looking for things to act in, anywhere in Wisconsin, there's always something to go on. There's Facebook pages. There's, if you can get an agency, there's a couple in Milwaukee area. There's some that are up in the Green Bay or Appleton area and stuff. I'm working on a proof of concept for a sequel to or prequel sequel to my feature film, and so I'm bringing in some actors as well. So if you're looking at trying to get into the Milwaukee area for acting, or if you're willing to travel around the state, or if you're willing to drive down to Chicago or something like that, there's always opportunity. Whether it's theater or film, there's opportunity out there.
Do you think getting the incentives passed in Wisconsin, if those are enacted, will that like really boost film production, or do you think people that are here are going to make their films here anyway because they want to do it in Wisconsin?
Personally, I will tell you that the incentives and stuff that people are talking about, like, that's great. Will that make more films happen here? I think that's probably going to get more outside investment, because a lot of the people who are here that are in Wisconsin already know that if they want to make films, like, they just got to make it happen themselves. And whether it's self-funded or if they have to do crowdfunding or whatnot, they'll find a way to make it happen. Will those incentives, I think, if they're tax incentives, if they're rebates or something, that'll bring in more outside people who are like trying to get SAG productions and stuff. But the people who are here, like, they already know they want to do it. They're going to make it happen. It's just another incentive for those guys.
That's a great answer. And I love your entrepreneurial spirit. That's so exciting and kind of infectious. Real quick, again, tell us where people can find out more information about Ed Gein the Musical.
You can go on either edgeinthemusical-play.com, or you can find it on Facebook. There's plenty of information all over there. If you start tapping the search function, you can just type Ed Gein. Typically, you'll find, I think one of the top search results is going to be Ed Gein the Musical.
Excellent. All right. It's the world premiere, the theatrical play adaptation of the cult classic Ed Gein the Musical, April 4th through the 6th at the Time Community Theater in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. We are talking with the actor who will play the lead role of Ed Gein, and I cannot thank you enough for your time tonight. Ezekiel, thanks so much. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Pete. Good to see you.
You too. That's Ezekiel Drews. And check out the Milwaukee Independent Film Awards. That's a pretty cool thing. I'm always in awe of people who are willing to do entire film festivals, because they just see what these guys do in in Madison for the film festival coming up there. It's so much work. So that's very impressive. All All right. Thank you to everybody who was part of the show tonight. Thank you for your texts. Thank you to John Roach. How cool was that?
That was awesome.
Wisconsin Badgers. It gives you a sense of pride, and we learned a little bit about Howard Moore and the Badgers, and what a great community UW-Madison is. Fantastic stuff. And thank you to Ezekiel Drews. We will be back tomorrow night. Conrad, who do we have tomorrow night? I don't have my sheet open here. I'm lost. No, here I got it.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna help me with that last name, anyways.
Bob Cicchini.
Okay, there we go.
And Bob Cicchini is in the show The Cleaning Lady. He'll be here tomorrow, and Kristen Leidy will be here, a local comedian. That's another night, though. Tonight was fun. We'll do it all again tomorrow night. On behalf of the lovable producer Conrad, I'm Pete Schwaba saying good night, Wisconsin.
Take me to your